Lecture 2. Is your idea a good one? After almost 40 years in the business, I have as yet to see an entrepreneur ask themselves this question. The entrepreneurs I've worked with have had a single-minded belief in the goodness of their idea and usually do not for a moment give this very fundamental question the time it deserves. As I had mentioned in the previous lecture, if you are an innovator, your odds of succeeding are not great. We usually think of 10 to 15% of innovations see any kind of commercial success. The reasons I had mentioned in my previous lecture include: the fundamental idea is not sound. There are issues of quality. There is misuse of user or consumer testing. There are fundamental issues of honesty and integrity. There can be issues with regulatory approvals. There are problems with patents. There can be failure to understand the use and foreseeable misuse of an innovation. There can be failure to manage user complaints. Finally, there can be issues of sales, marketing, pricing, etc. These I'm not going to cover in these lectures. But today I'm going to address the very painful but important concept of, is your innovation a fundamentally good idea or not? Science and engineering brings us countless new ideas, but whether or not they have commercial value is a completely other matter. It's this divide that often leads to the failure of innovations. The questions to ask are, is your idea fundamentally sound today? Could it be 10 years from now, 10 years ago, or was it ever a good idea? So here I want to introduce you to a concept called technology looking for a home. This would include any scientific or engineering inventions that are truly interesting and very innovative, but are highly unlikely ever to see a measure of commercial success. As an example, look at mousetraps. Evidently, there are more than 4,000 patents on mousetraps, but only a small number have ever been commercialized. There are stories of a mousetrap innovation that involves asphyxiating the mouse with carbon dioxide, and then it emails the homeowner via Bluetooth that they have a mouse, vital signs absent. No doubt a brilliant invention. However, in my house, I wouldn't look forward to a pressurized carbon dioxide cylinder and an internet connection to do a very simple job. If you want to evaluate whether or not you have developed a technology looking for a home, answer some of these simple questions. Does your innovation solve a problem? Does it offer advantages to current technology? Does it satisfy a user or consumer need not currently met? Can it be easily used and adopted? I remember when 3D television launched to great fanfare. It did not succeed. It didn't really solve a problem. Its advantages over existing technology were not seen as huge, and there was a lack of content in 3D format. Another issue often overlooked is whether or not your innovation has an Achilles heel. This from the ancient Greek mythology, where the mighty warrior was felled by an arrow to his heel. In innovations, these are fatal flaws. Are there issues with safety, efficacy, ease of adoption, intellectual property, or regulatory barriers? I've seen each of these fell very promising and exciting technologies. Sometimes the innovators buried or ignored these in the early stages and burned through enormous amounts of capital till they could not be hidden any longer. The record disaster I've seen in this area was a 20-year project which burned through $1 billion in funding and had almost no hope of receiving regulatory approvals, and it never did. There's an enormous graveyard of short-lived and failed innovations. I've taken out brand names to avoid any kind of trademark issues, but some of the famous ones during my lifetime have been foods, beverages, smartphones, tablets, and gaming consoles. There have been promising new pharmaceuticals and medical devices that ended up injuring or killing their patients. In some of the projects I've been involved with, it wasn't evident at the beginning, but as we've done post-mortems on these projects, there were often warning signs that were ignored. Which leads me to what I will call the entrepreneur's dilemma. Being an entrepreneur and innovator is extremely hard work. If you don't believe in yourself, you will never have the energy to move your idea forward. But you need some dispassionate perspective early on. You must surround yourself with people with diverse opinions and perspectives. If you only consult with the people who think like you, whether they be family, friends, professional associates who nod in support, you may very well be missing critical perspective that could lead to the untimely demise of your idea. So thank you for listening. In my next lecture, I'll approach the subject of quality and what it means to innovators and entrepreneurs.